Of all the things to have a fandom, why this? I'm not even mad, I'm just confused. Zootopia, Spyro, Sonic the Hedgehog, whether long-standing or beloved right out of the gate, these have ever-expanding fandoms for a reason. They were exciting with a diverse cast of characters and rich worlds dying for exploration beyond what they gave you. So fanfictions and fan clubs subsequently started cropping up. But why does Alpha and Omega get the same treatment? It's not the most popular fandom, but it's got a decent-sized cult following. I just want to know why. I hadn't even heard of this movie until about 2 years ago when a friend showed it to me, and that was it. For a while, I just went back to not caring. Then I found out about the sequels. Good fucking lord. This thing's got as many films as the Harry Potter franchise. But see, I understand that having a fan base, especially of its size. They're well received, well made, and based on an already popular source material. I just don't understand this. Maybe I missed something the first time around. At this point, the first film is 7 years old and remains the only Alpha and Omega film to be released in theaters. The rest were straight to DVD and are rarely mentioned by this devoted fan base that keeps financing them. So how is there any fan base at all? The first film grossed $50 million worldwide against a $20 million budget, which is crazy. Not just how much they made, but considering the animation, typically the most expensive part of an animated film, was pretty fucking bad. I'm surprised it cost so much to produce in the first place. I can't imagine it, even if they were just throwing money at the bigger talent they'd acquired, they spent even half of that $20 million on the movie. Maybe it was, though. Yeah, maybe it was all put into the writing and capturing the best emotional performances. Well, let's take a look at this thing and see if maybe I can work out why it has such a devoted cult following. I don't know, maybe I missed something the first time around. Let's just get this out of the way first, though. We all know the concept of Alpha and Omega wolves has been debunked for many years, so the whole movie is built on an incorrect understanding of how wolves operate, but frankly, considering it's about talking animals and they do things like sliding down giant hills on logs, we're going to cut it some slack and ignore that, even if it does perpetuate a common misconception that annoys the shit out of people. Let's just pretend this all takes place in some alternate reality where this is how wolves work. We open on a group of young Omega wolves sledding down a hill. This is Humphrey and his friends, Salty, Shaky, and Munch. Then we get a moment which completely dick fiddles the laws of physics, which introduces Kate, an alpha wolf. Humphrey and Kate seem to be good friends, but Winston, the leader of the pack and Kate's father, is concerned that the two may be getting a little too close, and establishes for the audience and Humphrey just where Alpha and Omega's places are in the pack. Alphas are the hunters, and Omegas make stupid jokes and get to live a relaxed life? Yeah, pretty sweet gig if that's all you have to do. And how do they decide which pups will grow up to be good alphas in the first place? Is it genetic? Is it a birthright? If they're basing it on their leadership skills and physical fitness, I guess that makes more sense, but it seems like anyone could become an alpha then. But Winston says they still need schooling? Anyway, we cut to later where Humphrey and his friends have grown and are still doing the same old shit with log sledding. Oh yeah, remember this gag. It's important. No, seriously. They ramp off and crash on a little hill, which just so happens to be where Kate and another alpha are hunting. Apparently, Kate and Humphrey have been apart all this time, as Kate was away at alpha school, which I'm assuming is going to be explained and explored much deeper in the later films. Just planting the seeds in this one, dropping hints that'll become integral later, I'm sure. Really want to build this world and develop those characters before the later films start shaking things up and axing them off. Or not. The prey is scared off, however, as another group of wolves, apparently from the eastern pack across the way, sneak in on Kate and company's hunting grounds. After narrowly avoiding death in a stampede, Kate doing as many unnecessary flips as possible as she does, the two packs begin to bicker and fight. It's okay though, Humphrey and his friends all know how to diffuse the tension. Ah yes, with broken spines, the wolves will have no choice but to stay and listen to the Omega's unfunny jokes. Also caribou ass. Winston scares the intruders off and goes to confront the leader of the Eastern Pack named Tony. Jesus Christ. You know, I'm open to naming characters blandly or normally. A name doesn't need to mean anything, but when you've got these two pack leaders, both with history of war and mistrust between them, you'd expect them both to have unique and imposing names, or at least something scary, but we've got Winston, which is a fine fit for an old wolf, but Tony? Fucking Tony? It doesn't have to be a great fit for it to work, okay? But really? Tony? That's not a respected and tactful leader. That's the guy who delivers my pizza. Anyway, Tony reminds Winston that the feud between the two packs they have going on could end if they would just unite the pack by marrying Winston's daughter to his son Garth. Why they need to marry, I don't know. I guess Tony doesn't have any faith in his son's ability to hook up with a girl. Does he know about his shortcoming? His tiny little problem? Trust me, when we get there, we'll talk about that. Anyway, so Winston promises his daughter as an offering to unite the two packs, and she is surprisingly not pissed about this. Like at all. She only seems to show the kind of dismay a teenage girl shows for not being allowed to stay out past curfew. So she just goes along with this and agrees to meet Garth at the Moonlight Howl tonight. What is the Moonlight Howl? Well, I assume it's a social gathering for wolves, where males try to find suitable partners, couples indulge in one another's company, and probably... Okay, fuck that. I guess it's where wolves have some musical foreplay before a moonlit mating session. Seriously, the obvious sexual references make this already weird scene really awkward and kinda dirty. They made this for kids, right? Everyone seems to be attending, even the emaciated ghost of a starved wolf. What is that? Also, what is up with this guy? Somebody's been eating the sweet berries? This guy's seen some shit. He looks like he walked in on his parents passionately howling in leather suits. Kate arrives with her sister, Lily, and it's here where we're introduced to Garth. He's stunning and strong, and Kate fawns over him immediately. Well, you know, I was going to develop negative feelings since I was being forced into marriage by my father, but suddenly my horniness says it's all okay. Of course, Humphrey gets jealous and tries to disrupt Kate and Garth's initial introduction. However, Kate sends Humphrey off with probably one of my favorite pieces of character-defining dialogue.
Who's the coyote?
No, that's good. Oh, because I'm like...
No one important.
Okay, that was harsh. Like, wow, I know he's being a bit of a dick, but nothing really out of character for him. But you've known Humphrey for years, and he's not supposed to take this personally? At this point, all we know about you, Kate, is you're turned on by the guy you're being forced to marry. Not that you cared all that much anyway, if your attitude was anything to go on. And you've dismissed your childhood friend as nobody important. Then you even call him a little coyote like Garth, before walking off and flicking his face with your tail. How are you one of the good guys? But oh, we're not done with Kate's despicable behavior yet. See, after talking with Garth for just a little bit, before she knows anything about him, they decide to show off their howls. And Garth's is a bit... Yeah, insert your own joke about what musical artist you think came in to deliver that singing voice. So it's here where I pretty much confirm that howling is like dick size for males, and this here is an alpha with a teeny weeny tiny weak and unattractive howl. Poor guy even seems legitimately heartbroken when Kate runs off, seeing through her excuse. I mean, it's a nasty howl, but the way this is presented made me really despise Kate. She has a responsibility to do this, and only when his howl, isn't good enough, that's where she calls it quits and realizes how much this all sucks. Now I'm supposed to feel pity after you agreed to do this for the pack, mistreated a close friend and showed no remorse, then only decided that this is all a bit of a crap situation when the guy you're marrying has a tiny wiener. Tiny howl. Anyway, down at the bottom of the Howling Rock, Kate enters the edge of the forest to mope about her date, Garth, when Humphrey shows up to rub it in. I'd say this makes Humphrey unlikable, but after the way Kate's been this night, it's kinda justified. This is when nearby humans with tranquilizer guns shoot the two of them and they trip the fuck out. Did the animation get worse or better? It's honestly bad enough that I can't tell if they're ugly or distorted or regularly. Kate and Humphrey are relocated to a reservation in Sawtooth, Idaho. In search of someone to help them figure out where they are and what they're doing here, they try asking two birds playing golf. These are our comic relief characters, and no, they're not funny, but you'll be relieved to know that they don't stick around for too long, just enough to bother me. They tell Kate and Humphrey about an old couple who just happens to live nearby, who just so happen to travel to Jasper every year, and just so happen to be leaving today, and just so happen to... You know, at this point, why don't they just wait for divine intervention to terraform the planet and move Jasper to them? Back home, the two packs have a meeting where Winston says they don't know where Kate is and suggests that maybe Tony may have done something. Tony is mad that Kate ditched Garth and demands that she return to marry Garth by the next Moonlight Howl. If not, there will be war. Lily, in an attempt to remedy the situation and get a little closer with Garth, who she seems to have a clear crush on, takes him to see the sights. I don't think with the way Kate disappeared that either Winston or Tony would approve of this, but you know what? It's an excuse to have the only two characters with chemistry interact. I'm not kidding when I say these two are the most interesting to watch together. Sure, I'm watching Alpha and Omega, so you could probably entertain me more by dangling keys in front of my face, but these two at least have recognizable personalities. Garth is a bit insecure about his howl and seems confident only in his ability to perform as an alpha. Lily is shy and nervous and seems not very confident in herself either, so they have similar things to work through and draw them together. Something Kate and Humphrey desperately need. Speaking of which, our boring leads are in the middle of their big adventure. They've successfully snuck aboard the couple's camper and ride it out until they stop for some gas. Humphrey needs to go pee. Kate wants to watch it first. Okay, when I said I wanted them to have something to bring them closer, I didn't mean this, Kate. But oh no, Humphrey finds a bag of donuts while outside and messily eats them. This makes him look like he shoved his face in cotton candy, and the gas station attendant tries to shoot him, thinking he's rabid. A rabid wolf with pink foam at the mouth. Must be fabulously rabid. Kate leaps into action, scarcely saving Humphrey, and the two escape into some nearby woods. It's here where we're treated to some of the same boring banter between the two. Here's the thing. In an adventure film like this, where people travel together and learn to love or at least appreciate one another, the dialogue and situations are vital, not only for the sake of comedy, but for the characters to discuss things, look at one another's points of views, and learn more about themselves as a byproduct. This movie decides to have Kate bring up something about responsibility, but never does anything with it. In fact, Humphrey just responds to this moment that would have been perfect for him to show her how to loosen up, or start asking questions about why she thinks she can't have fun just because she's an alpha, by doing a stupid dance. Next, Kate attempts to leap across a river of what I presume is the deluge from a nearby sewage treatment facility that blew up, but because it's muddy, she slips and catches herself by biting a root. Humphrey comes to the rescue and...
Oh, who knew I'd take place there?
Ew. They narrowly avoid death yet again, but oh no, Humphrey might be dead and... Oh, never mind. They take refuge for the night in a log, and the next morning the two birds manage to find them somehow. Oh god, so they're annoying and psychic? How are you supposed to fucking escape these things? They then tell the two that they know yet another way to get back to Jasper. There's apparently a train on the other side of an icy mountain that Kate and Humphrey will have to scale to get around fastest, which they can use to jump onto and ride all the way home. So the two are off yet again. Back at home, we see Lily and Garth getting to know each other a little better. He shows her his talents as an alpha, which he seems prideful in, and she lacks confidence in her own ability to do what he does, until he points out her hair is obscuring her vision and tells her that she has beautiful eyes, which seems to make her feel a bit better, maybe even a little more confident. Also, the only time I laughed in the whole movie was this. See, these two have some kind of chemistry, insecurities of their own that help define them, even if it is as basic as you can get. And what do we have back on the mountain? Well, albeit a whole movie late, the two finally start trying to form a bond of some kind, but it's only for a small interval, even briefer than Garth and Lily's romantic subplot is, and, at least for me, falls flat due to its lateness. I mean, is it just me, or are these two just so boring? Humphrey and Kate's voice actors even just sound like they're from generic teen dramas. So the two meet a bear cub. Humphrey decides to play with it, but accidentally upsets the little guy. And what happens when a baby bear starts crying? Mama comes to kick some ass. Oh, and looks like she brought some company. The bears push Kate and Humphrey back over the ledge, and they and one of the bears are soon sent falling to their certain fuck you. I don't care if Kate and Humphrey have iron legs and jumped off fucking cliffs earlier. There is no fucking way they went from plummeting to certain death to sliding along like they're seals on black ice. The bear is still pursuing them, surviving the fall as well, and to escape, Humphrey uses his log sledding skills from earlier. See, told you it was important. God, I only wish we could see more of it. It's such a big part of his character, you know? Too bad it's over. They launch off and crash land in one of the train cars, which will lead them straight home to Jasper. And here, at nearly the 1 hour mark, Kate and Humphrey finally take a minute to just talk. Not about anything interesting, but the feelings one associates with characters having earnest emotions and interactions kind of start to manifest, weak as they are. Meanwhile, Garth is showing Lily his howl, and she goes full Ron Jeremy on this guy, helping him raise his confidence and improve his howl with just this one secret. And it works. Meanwhile, Humphrey slowly convinces Kate to howl with him, and Garth and Lily howl, and it's all very romantic, I guess. I'm just so fucking tired, frankly. This movie is an adventure, but it's draining for all the wrong reasons. So Tony the Tiger here isn't too happy that his alpha son was howling with an omega. Seriously, could the sexual innuendos be any more obvious? And decides to move forward with his plans to just have an all-out war for the land. Kate and Humphrey are arriving at Jasper the next day, only to find both packs standing on opposite cliffs, preparing to fight, and rush in to break it up. Humphrey not getting a chance to tell Kate just how much he loves her. Upon returning, Tony demands Kate marry Garth and unite the packs. And of course she does. But she can't help feeling more somber about it now that she and Humphrey have traveled together. Yeah, I wouldn't really call what they have growing closer. So Humphrey decides to leave, become a lone wolf as it were, all because Kate's getting married to Garth and it makes Humphrey sad. And again, we get a semi-sweet moment between them where the movie tries to wring some emotion out of us, but these two haven't even started having any kind of chemistry until this point, so now every moment where they both clearly hate that this is how it has to be, or when they have those dreamy-eyed stares, it's all pretty forced and doesn't resonate. But of course, at the last moment, Kate refuses to marry Garth, and both she and Garth decide they'll reveal to everyone that they've both fallen for omegas, all while standing at the altar. It's actually a rock, but shh. So, especially after how drawn out this whole thing was, Tony and Winston's packs start fighting. Rather sporadically and prompted only by some random birds flying by, a large herd of caribou begin charging down the valley towards the battling packs. They all disperse, but Winston and Tony are caught in the middle. Humphrey makes a surprise return, and yes, the log sledding is returned. Humphrey's arc is complete. Anyway, they continue this movie's trend of beef stuffing the very basic laws of physics and manage to save Winston and Tony. But, oh no, is Kate dead? Of course not. It's a kid's movie where there should be no stakes or any risk outside the cliches we know so we don't get too invested. So Winston and Tony agree to break the rule of keeping Alpha and Omegas apart and the Valley is united. The end. This one was tiring to sit through. It's not that the movie itself was really that bad, but at its best, it's just a cheaply animated by-the-numbers adventure. Nothing more. Not worth the time of day, but not really harmful. Characters are at times a little insufferable or mean-spirited, but otherwise they're too bland and underdeveloped to be offensive. At times it gets a little too sexual. I didn't think I'd have to say that, but yeah, it's a little inappropriate. Hell, even if this was a family film versus an actual kids film, it has a few more suggestive moments than can be explained away as for the adults in the audience. So all this begs the question, how are there so many people who follow and obsess over this? Maybe you were around 9 or 10 when you saw this movie, whether in theaters or on DVD, and then a few years later it blossomed into your first fandom because of some nostalgic reasons. Or maybe it's just one of those things that we can't explain? Yeah, you know what? I don't care what people think. There's thousands upon thousands of movies and TV shows that have, had, or will have a fandom of some kind, and even I've been a part of some of them. I'll save this for another video, but let me just say this. You do you. I don't intend to hurt anyone. This video was just a look at the movie and see if maybe I missed something the first time that others saw, and while it might not be my cup of tea, and I don't see how it became so many other people's preferred pot, I'm not going to judge you if you like it. Hell, it's probably the best of the series anyway, right? I mean, the fans rarely even acknowledge the sequels, so I'll just be glad this was the one I got to watch. I mean, I am morbidly curious now. Why don't they ever like to mention the later films? If they don't really like them, how did so many get made? I'll get back to you on that. Till next time. I'm a bad wolf.